Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Fluffal Frightfur deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an awesome fusion OTK deck that have included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys to be able to break your opponent's board and OTK. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. Fluffal Dog is definitely a 3-of build because this card is basically the Stratos of the deck. Then when this card is normal or special summoned from your hand, you can actually add an Edgem Saber or a Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to instantly get the exact card that you need, so you can start fusion summoning into your awesome boss monsters. We then play 3 copies of Fluffal Penguin. Penguin is also definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is an amazing ability that during your main phase you can special summon a Fluffal monster from your hand except another copy of Penguin, but you can only use that effect once while this card's on the field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for the fusion summon of a Frightfur fusion monster, you can draw 2 cards and then discard a card, helping you dig into the deck for the exact card that you need. We then play 2 copies of Fluffal Dolphin. Fluffal Dolphin is really cool as a 2-of because it helps you go in for your copy of Bahamut Shark and then Toad, but this card is a great normal summon ability, and you can actually target a toy vendor in your graveyard and set it back to your side of the field, and if you do, send a Fluffal monster or an Edgem Saber from your deck to the graveyard, which is a great ability to get the exact card you need in the grave. I've really been enjoying playing this card at 2 in the deck. I actually dropped the copy of Octopus for the second copy of this card, but if you want to play Octopus, you can drop Dolphin back down to 1 and play 1 copy of Octopus. This card also has a really cool ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon, that you can actually shuffle into the deck one of your fusion spells or your polymerization spells that's banished or in the graveyard, helping you go in for more plays by recycling your resources. We then play 2 copies of Fluffal Bear. Fluffal Bear is really good as a 2-of in the deck because it helps you get to your copy of Toy Vendor, because you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to set a Toy Vendor directly from your deck to your spell and trap card zone. You can also tribute this card and then target a polymerization in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a really cool effect, but you're usually just using this card to help you get to your copy of Toy Vendor. Speaking of Toy Vendor, we also play 2 copies of Fluffal Wing. Fluffal Wing is amazing as a 2-of in the build. This card does so much. If this card's in the graveyard and you control Toy Vendor, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard and then target a Fluffal monster in the graveyard and banish it. And if you do, draw a card, then you can send Toy Vendor that you control to the graveyard, and if you do that, you draw an additional card. Then your copy of Toy Vendor will go off if it touches the graveyard, letting you add an Edgem Saber or Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, which is such a cool ability to help you get into the exact cards that you need. We then play a single copy of Fluffal Sheep. Fluffal Sheep is amazing as a 1-of, but you only need a single copy of this card. It has the ability, if you control a Fluffal monster, except a copy of Sheep, you can actually special summon this card in your hand by returning one other Fluffal monster that you control back to the hand, then special summon an Edgem Saber from your hand or your graveyard. This card combos really well with your copy of Dog because you can actually return your copy of Dog back to the hand, special summon out your copy of Sheep, and then use Dog on the follow-up, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Edgem Chain. Edgem Chain is so cool and is a off-the-chain card. This card has the ability that basically, if this card is sent from the hand or field to the grave, you can add a Frightfur card from your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be your copy of Patchwork, but there's a lot of targets in the deck you can actually search, making this card really good in the deck as a 3-of. We then play 2 copies of Edgem Scythe. Edgem Scythe is really good because this card helps you fusion summon during your opponent's turn, which is why we play this card as a 2-of, and the ability is searchable, but I feel like 2 is really all you need in the deck. It just helps out overall in the deck just as a 2-of. You don't want to break with 3, which is why I only play 2. We then play a single copy of Edgem Sabers. Edgem Sabers is searchable in the deck, which is why I play just a single copy of this card, and it basically is listed on so many different cards that I feel like all you need is 1 copy. It has the ability, if it's in your graveyard, you can actually place 1 card from your hand on top of the deck to special summon this card in defense position, and it doesn't banish itself at all, which is why I feel like you just need a single copy. We then play 2 copies of Eldritch the Golden Gucci Lord. This card is amazing as a 2-of tech card in the deck, and it just helps out a lot overall because you can actually send this card and a spell or trap card from your hand to the grave to target a card in the field and send it to the graveyard, which you can actually send cards like Toy Vendor from your hand to the graveyard to use that ability to also get a search, and if this card's in the grave, you can actually send a spell or trap you control to the graveyard, which can also be Toy Vendor, add this card to your hand, then you can special summon it to your side of the field as a 3,500 attack point boss monster to help you OTK. I really like playing Eldritch the Golden Lord in the deck because it helps out so much, and it's just really cool to be able to play him in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial helps out a lot in the deck to be able to send the exact card you need to the graveyard. We can play a single copy of Frightfur Repair. Frightfur Repair is really cool as a 1-of for its graveyard effect that you can actually banish a card from the graveyard to special summon a Fluffal or Edging monster from your hand, which is such a cool ability to use this card, plus you can send it to the graveyard off your copy of Cruel Whale's effect. We then play a single copy of Frightfur Fusion. Frightfur Fusion is really cool just as a 1-of in the build because this card is amazing to be able to play because it's basically a miracle fusion for the deck to help you step into cards like Wolf so that you can attack multiple times and be able to OTK. We then play 3 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization helps out a lot in the deck, and some main way we're actually going to be fusion summoning in this build outside our copy of Scythe, but this card is absolutely amazing to be able to go in for your fusion plays. Speaking of Polymerization, we also play 3 copies of Patchwork. Patchwork is really good in the deck because it lets you add an Edging monster and a copy of Polymerization from your deck to the hand. It's just really cool to be able to play this card and get a +1. We then play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Goods is good. This card is really good in the deck to be able to send your copy of Toy Vendor from your deck to the graveyard so that you can get a search. We then play 3 copies of Toy Vendor. Toy Vendor is so important for the deck and is really an amazing searcher for the build, as it has the ability once per turn you can discard a card to draw a card, then show it, and if it's a Fluffal monster you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. Otherwise, discard the drawn card, and also it has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add an Edging Saber or a Fluffal monster from your deck to the hand, getting the exact card that you need, making cards like Eldritch the Golden Lord really good in the deck, and cards like Foolish Burial Goods insane, so you can send it to the graveyard and basically have your Foolish Burial Goods be a rota for the build. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is just really good this format and really good at breaking your opponent's board. Speaking of breaking your opponent's board, we're also playing 3 copies of Droplet. Droplet is so good in this deck because it makes it so easy to OTK your opponent. And in this build with cards like Patchwork, you always have extra cards that you can send to the graveyard to be able to get the exact cards that you need. And Droplet is just amazing in the build. It helps out so much to be able to turn your opponent's field off and help you go in for a game by dropping your opponent's monsters' attack points by half and turning their monster effects off to be able to just swing in for game. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Cruel Whale. Cruel Whale is definitely a 2-of in the build. I don't feel like you need 3 copies of this card, but it's amazing in the deck. It has the ability, if this card is fusion summoned, you can actually destroy 1 card on both players' fields. And once per turn, quick effect, you can actually target a fusion monster that you control, which it can be itself, to be able to send a Frightfur card from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except a copy of Cruel Whale. And if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to the original attack of the monster until the end of the turn. But this card is great to be able to use because you can actually send spells and traps. Since it just says a Frightfur card, you can actually send cards like Repair from your deck to the graveyard, which is absolutely crazy. We then play a single copy of Sabretooth. Sabretooth is actually my favorite Frightfur card because this card is just a tank. It's so good. It has the ability that takes a Frightfur fusion monster plus 1 or more Fluffal and or Edging monsters, but you always want to put at least 3 materials into this card so you can get its bonus ability. This card has the ability, when this card is fusion summoned, you can actually target a Frightfur monster in the graveyard and special summon him. And all Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack, and in this card's fusion summon using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, which is absolutely insane and really tough for your opponent to deal with. We then play a single copy of Kraken. Kraken's just really good to be able to OTK, because once per turn you can target one monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard, and this card cannot attack directly this turn, but that's totally fine because it's just really good to be able to play in the deck to basically just spot remove cards off the field, and it can also attack twice, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Wolf. Wolf is amazing in the deck because it can attack multiple times to OTK your opponent, which helps out a lot overall in the build to be able to just swing multiple times with your copy of Wolf, and it's just really, really good. Depending on the amount of materials that you put in this card, you can actually attack that many times, making it an insane OTK machine. You then play a single copy of Tiger. Tiger is really good as a one-of in the build because this card has the ability, when this card's fusion summon, you can target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon and destroy them. And all Frightfur monsters that you control gain 300 attack for each Fluffal monster and Frightfur monster that you control, but you can only control one copy of Tiger on the field. But it's insane the amount of attack boost you're going to get off this card and your copy of Sabretooth on your side of the field to be able to OTK. We then play a single copy of Guardian Chimera. It's very easy to make in the deck. Pops 2 cards and draws a card, or either draws 2 cards and pops a card. Plus we have polymerization in the deck, so it can't be targeted if it's in the graveyard, which is really, really nice. We then play a single copy of Dracos Tapalia because this card is basically a walking negate, which is really nice. One copy of Garua because it's a great super poly target. Same thing for Mud Dragon. This card is also a great super poly target, which is why I played as one of. We play a single copy of Bahamut Shark so we can make our copy of Toad. These cards are just really good in the deck to be able to establish basically a negate on our side of the field. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa because it's easy to swarm the board and we never really get locked into anything. So this card is really good to be able to make just in case you can make it. We then play a single copy of IP so we can make our copy of Appaloosa during the opponent's turn. And then finally, one copy of Cross Sheep. We do fusion summon a lot in the deck, so it makes it very easy to make a copy of Appaloosa with multiple materials on your side of the field, and just really good overall in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I would enjoy this deck. Is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Fluffal Frightfur deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's insane how powerful it is to be able to just OTK your opponent, and it's really, really fun to be able to play. I absolutely love Fluffal Frightfur. It's just so cool to be able to play. But again, guys, remember, if you guys want to play the copy of Octopus, you can change out a copy of Dolphin for the copy of Octopus, or just add it to the deck if you want to. I decided to drop it because I just didn't feel like I was going into that many plays with it, but you can play it if you want to. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.